Mm. I dropped a video late last night on the brilliant interview with Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark hater Renee Montgomery, conflicted out Renee Montgomery, somehow a WNBA partial owner, but yet handling media for ESPN Plus and being a commentator on the WNBA and having I'm given a platform by ESPN to give her opinion on the WNBA and more specifically to give her opinion on the Indiana Fever, and more specifically than that, give her opinion on Caitlin Clark, and even more specifically than that, give her opinion on Caitlin Clark fans. And I said, Stephanie White has to be the dumbest person on earth to even allow herself to get interviewed by Renee Montgomery, considering she's from Indiana, played in Indiana, for the Indiana Fever, coached the Indiana Fever prior to this, played for Purdue, is an Indiana born and bred girl, and Renee Montgomery had no problem telling everybody who cheers for Caitlin Clark, you're not like us, and we don't want you here, and essentially called everybody a bunch of racists based on stuff that's disproven or unproven, and no data has been provided, and no proof has been provided, not a DM, not an email, not a text message. Yet they'll use stuff like, "Oh, this was said on Twitter X by random schmo," and you don't know what that person is other than a troll. So you quantify an entire fan base and say this is what they are. So I called her a dumbass. She's dumb. She's a dumbass. And then you dig a little deeper into the interview, and now is when you really see that she's just an absolute complete and utter buffoon. And you could call her a liar because of what she proclaimed would happen with Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston, and talked all about the Karl Malone, John Stockton pick and roll that lived on for like 17 years, and no one ever stopped it, despite the fact that everyone knew they were going to run it the entirety of the game, probably 30, 40 times a game. And here we are. Stephanie White tells you pick and roll's dead. Let's talk about it. Hit the intro. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Indiana Fever Unfiltered, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. I am your host, Rudy Rodriguez Showmont. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, leave your comments. Let's jump in on this video right here because it might be the most egregious thing that Stephanie White's probably ever said, and is the big problem at the end of the day. It's the big problem. She lied. She's been caught lying. And now she just shows her utter incompetence. Y'all remember this video that I showed you yesterday? Here you go. Let's listen to it. And this is Renee Montgomery now, later in this video, because I showed this part in my first video yesterday, well, this morning at 2 o'clock in the morning when I dropped it. Now we're at this part. So let's take a listen.
Say that out loud, but to that point, I've watched a lot of Aliyah Boston and Unrivaled even coming into this, and she is such a powerhouse that I think, like, I know she's going to be happy to have Caitlin back because that was one of the high targets in the league. Of
Look at that. Even she can't deny that the pick and roll is this offense. Even she can't deny. You run the pick and roll and you play off the pick and roll. Like, And no one's sitting here saying you got to run it every play of the game. But it is your offense. It creates everything else.
That two-man game. So what does that look like now? Even Raven moving Caitlin off the ball, having a two-man game with Aliyah Boston, like you have a lot of weapons, and people sometimes don't realize like that's when like the coaches now it's your job to mesh that whole thing together and make it work.
Yeah, I think creating space for C and AB to do what they do in the two-man game, you probably aren't going to see it necessarily on the first side of the floor anymore. Everybody's game plan is ready for that. I think playing through AB as a hub and inverting some of those actions. I mean, she showed last year that she can be a point forward, so to speak. I mean, she handled a lot of our ball handling duties with Caitlin off the floor. We want to play through her. We want those two to be able to play off of one another. But we also got to create space for Kelsey Mitchell. I mean, Kelsey Mitchell is an elite guard who can get her shot off at any time, who can get downhill, who can create matchup problems, who can create rotations to allow Aliyah and Caitlin's job to be a little bit easier.
What? Let me give you some numbers. Let me give you some numbers. John Stockton, career, 10.5 assists. Career. He had seasons with 13.8, 13.6. This is the prime of his career. 14.5, 14.2, 13.7, 12.0, 12.6, 12.3, 11.1, 11.2, and 10.5. That is over a 10-year period. In that same breath, Karl Malone averaged in that same breath 27.7, 29.1, 31 points, 29 points, 28 points, 27 points, 25.2, 26.7, 25.7, 27.4, 27, 23.8, 25.5, 23.2, and 22.2, and even 20 when he was old as hell. And then his final year, he went to the Lakers. So this is a tandem that completely dominated the NBA. And no, they didn't win an NBA championship because of this guy named Michael Jordan, who prevented them 2 years in a row from winning an NBA championship. They got to the finals twice on a pick and roll, which created their entire offense. It was their offense. They ran it over and over and over and over again. And I'm not sitting here saying that you got to run it as many times as Karl Malone and John Stockton ran that pick and roll, but they ran it to death. They ran it to death. And you know what? Everybody knew. Everyone knew they were going to run it. And they still ran it, and you could not stop it. When you have elite players running an offense, and I'm not calling Aliyah Boston elite, but when you have an elite point guard who can get you the ball in tight spaces and create easy baskets for you, well, you keep running it, and you keep running it, and you keep running it. Instead, she's telling you right here, no, we're going to invert it. So we're going to have Caitlin Clark set the screen on the 6'6", 6'7" center, so that Aliyah Boston can run off of it. Let's get Caitlin Clark, killed. Let's get her killed and have a 6'6", 6'7" center run her ass over, because Aliyah Boston is the connector. Let's listen to see if there's anything else you had to say here.
I'm glad you brought up Kelsey. You see what I mean? These is good problems to have, Coach. I was going to get to Kelsey Mitchell because this is like a lot of good weapons. Now, I have to ask, what was that process like? Aliyah Boston is a $6 million player. You said she's a point forward. So just talk about that, going through that, figuring it out. Because, again, I love to see, you talked about it earlier, like we're OGs. So I love to see the players get into the bag.
Man, I'll tell you, thankfully I'm not a GM, so I don't have to deal with working all.
All right, there's nothing else. She said nothing else after that. So it's about Kelsey Mitchell. Listen, you came here telling everybody you're going to run this pick and roll to death. That's probably what excited most of us because I don't even remember at this point what excited us about you. Because if I could bring back Christy Sides and turn back time like Cher, I'd bring back Christy Sides right now because I know what that offense looked like once Christy Sides let go and allowed Caitlin Clark to be Caitlin Clark. You have an offense that works. Pick and roll is an offense. Would you take the ball out of Tom Brady's hands? Would you have Patrick Mahomes hand the ball off 50 times a game and throw it 20? Would you, I don't know, there's a guy named Michael Jordan. Would you say, oh, well, we all know that Michael Jordan's going to get the ball, so how about we just not give him the ball? How about we not let him go one-on-one? How about we not let him break down his opponent? I understand Phil Jackson ran a triangle offense. But how about we just take the ball from Michael Jordan because we know they're going to double team him and maybe triple team him. And because they do that, or better yet, how about we stop running the triangle offense? How about we stop running the triangle offense altogether because everyone knows we're going to run it, even though it has historically been proven to be the most unstoppable offense ever produced in the NBA. And most of the teams that have run it have won championships running it. Whether it was the Bulls, whether it's the Warriors, because Steve Kerr played for the Bulls and he runs a version of it with the Warriors, or he did for the, he has. And I know there's been other teams that have run it. I think the Spurs have done it, as well with Greg Popovich. I think the Lakers did as well. The Lakers did also with Shaq and Kobe. So you run this offense that works everywhere. Everywhere. You almost wonder why every team doesn't run the same exact offense. Because it works everywhere. It works everywhere. But no, let's stop running it because, they know we're going to run it. This is the stupidity of the WNBA. This is the stupidity of Stephanie White. So we're not going to see much pick and roll. We're not going to see the play that produces the most assists between Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston. So let's not remember that. Remember those numbers we talk about, because she could average 25 and 12. Nah, I'm telling you right now, 18 and 8, man. That's what she's allowing. 18 and 8. 19 and 8, maybe 20 and 8. But you're not going to get 25 and 12. Because this coach here doesn't want her to run the offense that actually works. She wants her to do it her way. Because she's so smart and everyone else is so dumb. And will we see pick and roll occasionally? Yeah, I'm sure we will. But not like Karl Malone and John Stockton. Not an offense that works like fine wine. This is Stephanie White. This is your coach. And if you defend this bullshit from Stephanie White, then that Slurp FC thing I've heard about recently, anyone who defends this might be the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. This goes on record as the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. But hey, y'all let me know y'all thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Hype the video. Let me know y'all thoughts, man. I appreciate y'all. This is Indiana Fever Unfiltered, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. Come on now.